Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Undefined. I am your host, Bella Steyer, and today I have a very exciting guest. I am talking with Sadler Vaden. He is from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. He is a guitarist, singer-songwriter, producer, and he just came out with a record called Dad Rock over the summer. We're going to talk about that. He also has been producing a lot of great songs. Want to talk about some of those as well. And he is also in Jason Isbell in the 400 unit. I'm so excited to have Sadler on. How are you today?
Hey Bella, thank you so much for having me. I'm great. I'm doing great today.
Yeah, I want to talk more about your album Dad Rock. It came out this past summer, and it is your second album since Is Anybody Out There, right? And that was, or is that your second or third album?
It's my third full-length album.
Yes, I loved Anybody Out There, and I was really excited to hear this one, and it's really great. And uh, you have two young boys, and that kind of inspired the record. I want to hear more about that.
Yes, so I knew it was time for me to make another record. And that was my own decision. No one's pushing me to make records or anything, but it is a part of my art, and I knew it was time to make another one. And I had already had one son, and we
Mhm.
had another boy on the way, and it just felt like my life has changed so much from becoming a dad, and I just thought it made a lot of sense, and I thought it was kind of funny too, which I comedy is like one of my favorite things in the world.
Mhm.
So I don't know, I wanted it to be like sweet, sincere, kind of whimsical, funny, all that stuff. And yeah, it was really a joy to make. And I hope that one day my sons will, as they get older, they'll look back and find this record that their dad made that was kind of for them. So
Oh, I love it. And the first song on the album is called Townsend's Theme. Was that a song that you had made for your oldest son? Was that kind of like a lullaby that you had put together?
yeah, right after he was born, I wrote that sort of intro part to the song. I wrote it right after he was born, and then I had finished it out once we got to the studio. But yeah, I used to play it for him, when he was crawling around or whatever. It's just something I played for him all the time. And the intro, it has a bunch of, you know, uh, like bunch of baby sounds and things like that going on. And I started recording around the house, and I just threw all of those into, and we just put them in a row so that they were all going at the same time. So it's a bunch of different recordings happening at the same time.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that. Did you like kind of record that with any professional equipment, or did you just kind of like turn your phone
Just
on
my
around the
phone.
house? Yeah.
Yeah, just my phone. And then I put it into the program that I record in. It's called Pro Tools. And
Mm.
I just put them all in a row. I didn't try to stagger them and do anything like that. I just laid them on top of each other. And it came out sounding, kind of like a Pink Floyd record. But
Yeah, I loved
uh,
it. And whimsical is a perfect word to describe it.
yeah. And I also wanted to just do an instrumental. I just thought I wish there were more instrumentals. And, someone like McCartney or a number of people will always kind of throw an instrumental or something on the record, and I think that that's like a lost art too. Sometimes it's great to just have something that's just music that doesn't have singing and stuff going on, so yeah, that was something that I really wanted to accomplish, and I think I did.
Yeah, you did a great job. And I think that is so interesting what you say about instrumentals because I agree. I think, especially since everything is mainly switched to digital and there's that kind of that lost art of like putting in a CD in your car or a tape or a vinyl and just letting it play. And I think, an album like this serves perfectly in like a vinyl record physical format where you can really enjoy that. And I think it's really cool too for that being the first song on the record and then it kind of takes you through the rest of them.
Yeah, it's sort of like you're either gonna get on the ride, like the first song, if you're listening to it that way, if you're not on the streaming and you're just, cherry picking a song to listen to,
Mhm.
it's sort of like you're either going to get on the ride or you're not. That's a sign. The first song's an instrumental, so if you make it through that, which is I think it's a very entertaining instrumental song, but if you make
Mhm.
it through that, you know you're going to listen to the rest of the record most likely.
Yeah, and when with everything on streaming, I do try to listen to, like, when I listen to an album for the first time, it has to be in the order. I do not do shuffle, and so it was nice
Yeah,
to hear it.
yeah.
And I think it's a very cohesive album too. I like listening to it front to back. And then about dad rock, so when I was listening to this album, I was thinking about it. I feel like that term a lot of people can categorize it into a lot of different things. I mean, when I put dad rock into like Spotify or Apple Music, I mean, I've seen like people like 2000s, like divorced dad rock, like the kind of Nickelback type music, or like, when I think dad rock, I think, like behind you got ELO, like Tom Petty, like that kind of thing, or even like, maybe even like some 90s alternative can be considered dad rock to you, especially as a dad. Where would you put that? I think, this album specifically, it does remind me of like the 70s and the 80s and that kind of thing. And it really fits in kind of sonically with that. But when you think dad rock, what are like the artists that come to your mind?
I think to me, I'm just thinking about like what are, garage, a dad in the garage, you know, piddling with something like what is that going to sound like?
Yeah.
So, um, kind of, but then there's also like the indie dad rock, there's like
Yeah.
Wilco, and
Yes.
I think this album, my album has a little bit of that kind of Wilco vibe. And I think,
Yes.
I think some yacht rock stuff is kind of dad rock. I don't know. I mean, I think it's I think there might be some subgenres of dad
Yeah.
rock at this
I re
point,
I
you
really
know?
think there is. I mean, it really just
Yeah.
depends on what kind of dad you have. I mean, yeah, yacht rock, like Jimmy Buffett, I feel like could be dad rock.
Yeah, Doobie Brothers, the
Yeah.
Doobies, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think I kind of spanned the subgenres of dad rock pretty
Yeah, I
well.
think
So,
yeah, you really did. And then kind of more on that note, how old I know you had a baby this past year, but how old is your oldest? Is he like 3 or 4?
my oldest is 4 and my youngest just turned 1.
Oh,
So,
wow. And so, they're kind of getting that age. Have you like started playing music around? Like, I'm sure you play music for them around at the house, but are they at that age, especially the 4-year-old, where they like, are they gravitating towards it? Is there anything that they ask for? Like, have you started their musical journey yet? And, what do they like to listen to if they have
it's
anything?
it's kind of funny. I mean, well, my 4-year-old does love music, especially like when I'm taking him to school drop off and everything. We like to listen to music. Um, but as far as like gravitating towards playing anything, not really. I mean, I can't really play guitar around them because they just come over and start messing with it. It's really funny. It's almost like they don't want me playing the guitar because the attention is going, somewhere else. But I do have an electronic drum kit
Uh-huh.
down in my space, and so Townsend likes to I put the headphones on him. He likes to play on that, and which is great because it's not an acoustic drum
Oh,
kit.
yeah.
Um, which that would be fine maybe one day, but this is like I can control the volume of this, so
Mhm.
that's kind of fun if when he needs to get some energy out. But yeah, we the instruments are around. We have a ukulele, have a piano. We have a basket of like percussion instruments, tambourines, shakers, and stuff.
Mhm.
So I kind of let them do what they would naturally. I haven't really started pushing anything
Mhm. Do
on
you have
them.
like
So
any like records or anything in particular that you're excited to play for them eventually once they get a little bit older?
yeah, I mean, I'm trying to play more like Beatles stuff for them, and maybe even like get more into like the Rolling Stones and things like
Mhm.
that. Townsend, my 4-year-old, really loves Jukebox Hero by Foreigner. He heard that one day. He just loves it. I mean, he goes around singing Jukebox Hero. But he's in the superheroes, so I think like the connection, hearing, like
Yeah.
something about. And I will say, to Foreigner's credit with that song, it is very theatrical. It's very like
Uh,
there's like a movie playing in your head when you're listening to it. So standing in the rain. It's very dramatic, and it's almost like a Broadway
yeah.
or something. So I think he likes that element of it. But but yeah, there's music going all the time in the house. I don't think it's really anything special to them yet because they've been around it so
Yeah, they're
much.
just so used to it. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
cute story. Funny you mentioned the superheroes because I remember seeing pictures of you during Ryman time. You're dressed up as Captain America. That was
Yeah.
very on brand for Denmark. Was that after his birthday party? You just showed up.
That was we had a Halloween party in our neighborhood, and I had to work that night at the Ryman Auditorium, so
Mm.
I was able to, I went to sound check, and I was able to drive back home and surprise him because he was in the at the party, the block party thing, and I parked down the street and I put that Captain America suit on, and and my son, who's dressed as the Incredible Hulk, sees Captain America walking up, and then he realizes his dad, and yeah, it was a really good memory. And then I stayed as long as I could, but I had to go back down and play at the Ryman, so I didn't change out of the costume. I just kept it on, and I walked from the parking lot of the Ryman through downtown Nashville as Captain America to the back door, and the security lady didn't want to let me in the back door.
You think
She
she would
thought I
know
was
you by now? You've
I think
only been
yeah,
there enough times.
I looked like Captain America. She's like, uh-uh. No, because I mean, it was like Friday or Saturday night in downtown Nashville. I mean, she thought I was probably somebody on drugs
Captain
trying to get
America
into the
wasn't on the
rabbit.
list.
Yeah. And I'm going, it's Captain America. I'm here to protect you. Let me in. Uh, but yeah, no, yeah, I try to do, yeah, there was a great memory to make. My son probably not thinking I was going to show up for the Halloween party. And here I come walking up as Captain America. So,
That's precious. Yeah, I remember seeing Josh posted those photos, and I just got a huge kick out of that. I think that might need to be a future album cover.
yeah, I think so.
I mean, the thing about the Ryman shows is that it's Halloween week. I think maybe one night y'all just might maybe need to consider having a costume night.
I would like that. We did it one time. We played Voodoo Fest in New Orleans on Halloween,
Oh.
and we all dressed up as Batman. Wait, the whole band, but it was
Oh
just like
man.
that. Like we didn't have like great like professional costumes. It was everybody had their sort of own version of Batman.
Yeah,
So,
it's like the multiverse of Batman.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think I just had like a shirt that said "I'm Batman," and then I had like a cape. But so,
Oh my gosh, I need to
yeah,
look that show up when I'm done. Maybe I can find a picture
yeah,
somewhere.
yeah,
That's so good. And then, another thing I wanted to talk about in regards to the new album, and kind of on this note, you have this song, I'll Always Come Back. And in a video on your Instagram, you explain how that's how you tell your oldest, when you're on the road. And I think it's a very sweet song. And you tour with them a little bit, right? I know y'all are always on the road in the summertime, especially. How is that like bringing them on the road? And um, how's that like for you? I know you played stadiums in the summertime. That was super cool too. Were you able to take them with you?
yeah. It's absolute mayhem. But it's the best kind of mayhem. No, it's really fun. I mean, they really love to be on the road.
Mhm.
I think it's a lot for them, but it's yeah. I mean, I'm personally really really tired when they're on the road, but that's that's a trade off I'm willing to do, because I get to
Mhm.
be with them a little more and create these memories and stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's like we played Ford Field opening for Zach Bryan, and the family was out there, and our dressing room was the Detroit Lions locker room, and I
Oh
had
wow.
these great pictures of Townsend um, in there with his friend in the Detroit Lions locker room, and I was so hoping that they would have gone further in the playoffs, maybe even to the Super Bowl,
Oh
to
yeah.
say buddy, years down the road, look, you were in their locker room the year they went to the Super Bowl or something like that. But
Oh.
um, yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's just fun to create those memories, and just to be in. My son's already traveled so many places for
Oh, I'm
being
sure.
4 years old. So, but he likes it. He does great. He sleeps well, and
Hmm.
he's always up for an adventure. So it's a really good time.
That's super cool. And I also wanted to talk about, so, you make your own music, you're in the 400 unit, but you also are a producer and you have a few recent songs come out. You did the song Sunrise with Jonathan Payton, and you just put out a new song with Jack Shields, Hit My Line, and I loved it. I just listened to it. I thought it was great. I wanted to, and you've done work with Morgan Wade as well. And you produced one of my favorites from a couple years ago, the Drayton Farley record. 21
Thank you.
High. I wanted to know, how did you get into that? I read that you've been doing it like for a little over 10 years. How did you get into producing, and how do you find these great people to work with?
Well, so I got into producing. Yeah, I guess I've been doing it about that. It kind of came to it by accident, really. I mean, there was a family in South Carolina that I worked for that had three um, boys that had a band, and I had my own band at the time, and they sort of thought like I was the guy to kind of help their boys like become better musicians, like learn how to work together as a band. And so I would like record them and stuff, and that's really when that it sort of started, like my interest in you know um, learning how to engineer a little bit and kind of working on songs, and then also being in the bands that I've been in and having been produced as much as I have, working with producers, you pick up that stuff. Um, and then also making my own records. So a lot of these artists have come to me. I mean, there was a record I made with this artist named Hannah Wickland. That was a really cool record. There was an artist named Zach Schmidt I made a record for. Um, of course, Morgan Wade's first two albums. Yeah, and a lot of it's just kind of come. Jack Shields came to me.
Hmm.
Drayton Farley came to me, which we did another record that I'm not sure when it's coming out, but we have another record made. And Jonathan Payton, same thing. Just he was very persistent messaging me, and I finally listened to it and was like, "Wow, this is great. Yeah, I'd love to do it." So
Hmm.
yeah, a lot of it's come to me. I mean, the Morgan Wade thing was very organic. It was sort of both. It was kind of like I had this opportunity to reach out, and I did, and said, "Hey, wow, you're really really good. If you're ever in Nashville, I'd love to meet you, and maybe we could work together on something one day." It was very casual, and yeah, so it's sort of I really enjoy doing it. And I think like just as I get older, and the idea that I'm gonna you know the idea that I'm going to put records out and go and tour more than I'm already touring with the 400 unit.
Hmm.
I don't want that to stop me from making my own records and things like that, because I really get a lot of joy out of it. But
Hmm.
other ways to do that that are fruitful is like just being creative in another way, which is
Hmm.
helping artists achieve their goals in the studio and with their songs and stuff. So that's helping them kind of get better at writing songs, helping them with their songs, producing them. So I get a real kick out of it, and it's just another um I happen to be like good at music, and it is my passion. So I'm lucky that I'm doing what I think I'm good at, and I'm also passionate about it. So it's just producing is just another outlet for me.
That's awesome. That's really inspiring. I wanted to know, how did you get into music? And you grew up in Myrtle Beach. I'm sure there's a lot of good live music, especially in the South Carolina, the Charleston area. How did that go about for you? And then I know when you were younger, you played with the great Driving and Crying, and
hmm
then now you're with the 400 unit. Kind of take us through a little bit of your musical journey, and what was really big moments for you growing up in terms of getting into that.
Well, music was always kind of happening in my house. My parents were just like music fans. They were born
Hmm.
in 1952, so they grew up um, just right in the thick of everything that was coming alive at the time, with sort of 70s rock and everything. And um, so yeah, my parents were just big fans of music. And then when I was 10, they took me to a concert called Farm Aid, and it was in Columbia, South Carolina. And that was really life changing for me because I was 10 years old.
Wow.
And I hadn't yet started playing guitar, but I did the day after we got back from the concert, my dad pulled his guitar out and I just started playing then. Of course I didn't know how to play the guitar, but that's when I became interested in it. And then it was just all I ever thought about. And then of course, like everyone else, I, just became so obsessed with like music history and the documentaries and just learning and soaking up everything I could about specifically rock and roll. So yeah, and then in high school I had a band, and then when I got out of high school, I started a band. Would tour with bands. Um, Really, just the plan B was plan A, or just there was no plan B. You know, so I just decided to dedicate my time to doing it, and yeah, I think I have a little bit of a natural ability for playing guitar, but also I've just worked hard at it. So that's really it. It's just I turned 39 in a few weeks, but I'm 38 right now, and this
Wow.
marks 20 years of touring because I started touring
Wow.
when I was
Happy early
18.
birthday. They're perfect. Yeah, that was really inspiring. So that was cool about Farm Aid. Who was playing? Who was on the lineup? Because I've seen like YouTube videos of different Farm Aids throughout the years. I wanted to know who you saw, if you can
So it was,
remember.
yeah, there was a lot of country. I do remember
Uh,
that. It was Tim McGraw, Martina
wow.
McBride. But then there was like Sunvolt was
Oh,
played, Hootie and the Blowfish,
oh, that's awesome.
the Beach Boys, Rusted Root. Um,
Wow.
let's see who else. Steve Earle. Um, Trying to think who else. John Mellencamp,
Wow.
Neil Young and the Crazy Horse, and Willie. I think that's it. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's
This
a
is
crazy
big.
first concert. That is a really,
Yeah,
really cool first concert.
yeah. Well, my actual first concert was Hootie and the Blowfish
Oh,
at the
nice.
North Charleston Coliseum, and yeah, and the Farm Aid wasn't my first concert, but it was one of the first concerts
Yeah.
I went to. Yeah, but my parents were great. I mean, they took me to see the Who when I was 10.
Mhm.
They took me to
Oh,
see
wow.
Ringo Starr with his
Uh-huh.
all star band, which was like Peter Frampton and all these, Jack Bruce from Cream, Eric
Wow.
Clapton's band stuff. So yeah, I mean, my parents did a lot of good. I think that's really just that's just what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I can
Seeing those
relate.
shows, yeah.
Yeah, because I had a similar upbringing too. My parents are big music fans, and ever since I was in elementary, I mean, I would always just want to listen to music in the car and have my own CD collection. And then they've been taking me to shows since I was like 8, 9, 10, and so my love for music has only increased. So I can relate to that. I think it's very important, to get young kids into music, and I think it can really change your life, especially live music too.
Yeah, I think it's very important. My concern is like how, to make it so that people that enter this field, I mean, nothing's guaranteed, but just
Hmm.
the idea that you can still make a living doing it. I think that, but we got to figure that out. Because you don't want it to go away. And
Yeah.
then again, if it's also like if someone's into music, it doesn't mean that they have to make a living doing music. That's
Hmm.
another thing I think that gets lost sometimes. It's like to have music, you don't necessarily have to make a living doing it. You can make a living doing something else and still do music, and music
Hmm.
brings a lot of happiness to yourself and others. So
Hmm.
that's how I view it anyways.
Yeah, I can't play, but I think it's really important though as a fan to like get that message out there of like go to the shows and buy the records, buy the CDs, go on the merch stores because I mean in this day and age you could say that you support somebody and you're like their number one listener on Spotify or whatever, but in reality that doesn't cut it. And so I think, if you can just go out, even just getting a CD and just buying the ticket to the show or getting a t-shirt. And I think a little goes a long way with that. I think it's important to keep that going as fans.
Yeah, I think I also, yes, I do think that it's changed a lot and this could take up a whole nother hour,
Yeah.
but my view is that the game has just changed, and so as creators, musicians, we just have to find that, we can't just make a great song and put it out really anymore, especially if you're starting out. I mean, you
Hmm.
might get a viral hit or something, but um, it's really just, this is my opinion, but it seems like that's just not enough
Hmm.
anymore, because of the mediums, because of how much people interact with screens and, on their phones and things like that now. So, it's kind of like as creators and musicians, we just have to find all those different ways to connect other than putting out a song, playing a show,
Yeah.
which I wish it was that easy still, but
Yeah. And I think, it is really important. And what you made about the digital speed, it's almost like it's like a bus. There's a new one coming every 5 minutes. There's a song, and it could be like the biggest song on the internet and everybody's into it. But then like it just doesn't have that staying power of like when things are on the radio and like then that's all you had in the car, you would hear the same several songs, like 50 songs for, all year over and over again. It wouldn't leave. But now, like, you get a hit song and then it might be number one for a few weeks and then people are already moved on.
yes, yeah, it's a turnover is just really, really fast. And yeah, you as artists, you just got to keep moving. I mean, there's a lot of great things about this time period right now for art, but then there's, it's just it's growing pains, really, and tech
Hmm.
and everything's just moving so fast. I think it's it's we're barely keeping up, with how
Yeah.
fast tech is moving. So, um, but yeah, to all the aspiring musicians or musicians, songwriters that are already going, just keep going, you know, um, just keep writing, never stop writing.
I wanted to talk about the 400 unit and your work with Jason Isbell. How did you get connected with Jason? I know that he had played some shows with Kevin Kinney as well from Driving and Crying. I didn't know if you had overlap there or have you known him for a long time and he just kind of asked you, like, what was that like?
Yeah, so I had a band from Charleston called Leslie, and we toured a
Yes.
lot in the Southeast. And uh, Jason had left the truckers. He was done with the truckers thing, drive-by truckers,
Yes.
and he, went solo and started this band. And it was kind of one of those things where he would roll through town, and we would just try to open for him whenever we could. And
Hmm.
so we opened for him one time, and we kind of met him there. And then I think once or I don't know, two or three times later, he would roll through town, and we would open for him in Charleston. And we just kind of got to know him. So I met him in 2007, and
Wow.
um, and yeah, we sort of loosely stayed in touch, I guess. Not really, but I moved to Nashville. I saw that he had moved to Nashville, and I reached out to him, and we never got together. And then I met his manager, Tracy.
Hmm.
I was playing with Driving and Crying at the time. Jason had just made Southeastern. He wasn't really playing with another guitar player at that moment. And Tracy told me that he was kind of looking to add somebody and that maybe he thought I would be a good fit. So that's really how it happened.
Wow, that's awesome. And you've been with them ever since. It's been, gosh, how many years? Like 15? No, a little bit
So,
less than 10
two,
years, I guess.
well, it was 2013 when I joined. So this would be my 12th year
Oh,
doing it.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And do you have some of like your favorite memories being with the band? Because y'all talk tour constantly all over. You're just in Europe. You do the Ryman residency every year, go to Red Rocks every year. What are some of your favorite stories with the 400 unit and being on the road? I'm sure you have a
Oh my
lot.
gosh. Yeah, like when I get asked that, my brain it's
Mhm.
like a memory jog, like
Uh,
just jumbles up. Man, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we just had, we really just we have a great time playing.
mhm.
I think about the shows. There's just been so many like great shows. Trying to think of some group activities or something that we've done that ring a bell, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, some of the days off that you have out there can be really fun. when you're in a cool city or, you
Hmm.
know, yeah, it's just we enjoy each other's company. I think it's really
Hmm.
the main thing. We get along. Um, we like playing together. Um, I think I like the after show,
Yeah.
uh, hang out in the dressing room. You know,
Yeah.
just kind of chopping it up with everybody and listen to music and you know trying to see who can make the other person laugh harder. So
Oh.
yeah, there's too many memories. I mean, last year playing Radio City Music Hall was probably top of the list.
I wish I could have gone to that. I saw it, but it was like it was in like January or February, and I just couldn't make the trip. But when I saw that y'all were playing Radio City, I'm like, that would have been my bucket list show.
I think 2023, October 2023, when we played Hardly Strictly Bluegrass Festival, it's a really great memory for me. It was a great show,
Oh,
great crowd.
awesome.
Love being in San Francisco.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, yeah. Just so that when we played the Fillmore there one time
Uh-huh.
was really great. Of course, we love the Ryman, but
Hmm.
that's right in our backyard. That's always fun. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, a lot of good
Yeah,
memories with that band.
yeah. I talked to Will about the Ryman. I know he's new to this whole thing, but you've been
Yeah.
doing it for years. How is that like for you? Because what I was saying in my interview with Will Johnson is that for people that aren't familiar, every year y'all do a residency at the Ryman and you play for about 2 weeks. It's split into weekends, so you'll do like 4 days one week and then 4 days the second week. And it's a huge thing, not just for people in Nashville. Fans from all over, myself included, make the trip to go catch a few nights, or some people even do all of them. And what's really fun about that, from a fan's perspective, I'm sure, as the band too, is that it's not just your typical set list that y'all will catch on a normal tour. It has all of the fan favorites and the hits, among the fans. But
Uh
there's
huh.
also that's the a chance that you can hear songs that the band doesn't play often. How is that like for you? And the band has a big catalog at this point. Do you have any favorites that you try to get to play or kind of petition to get played when you get a pick through that list?
Hmm. Um. Let's see. I love playing Relatively Easy. It's a
Oh,
fun song to play.
I
I
went to one of
love
the Southeastern nights, so I got to hear that, and that was really special.
great.
Hmm.
Yeah. I like playing Different Days. I
Hmm.
like playing New South Wales. Those are all Southeastern songs.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, I mean, there's so many. I do like when there's some songs that we haven't played in a minute in there because I do
Hmm.
think it freshens things up and keeps everybody on their toes a little bit. I loved, we usually always like sometimes we'll do like a different cover every night, so
Yes, I
that's
was
kind
going
of
to ask
fun. Like
about that. Hmm.
yeah, this year was REM. So that was really fun to learn those songs. Like, I mean, they're embedded in me, but like,
Yeah.
to truly learn Finest Work Song or Man on the Moon, learn all those
Hmm.
cool parts and stuff. So yeah, yeah, it's always just fun to see. Um, if I feel like Jason's like sort of just kind of got a blind spot or something, one of us will speak up and say, hey, we haven't done,
Hmm.
you know, that one song, whatever it
Yeah.
may be. He's got so many songs now. So, but yeah, really touring behind the latest record, Weather Vanes, has been really
Oh, I
fun.
love it.
So
Yeah, this ain't it is become. I feel like it's become one of the live show staples.
yeah,
And
for
then same
sure.
with Miles, and then my favorite, and you can also hear this version from the Ryman on the new album Live from the Ryman Volume 2 came out
Yes.
in October. But my favorite song, I think by the 400 unit, and to hear live, is The King of Oklahoma. And I just
Hmm.
love how you two go back and forth with the guitar. How did you guys come up with that riff? Did Jason start it and you kind of added on to it, or how did that come about? Because I think that's my favorite guitar bit in all of the 400 unit songs. Every time I hear it, I just get so excited.
Yeah, so well, I mean, and the live version is quite different from the recorded version,
Hmm.
I mean, I would say like so yeah, I remember we were in Dallas and it was like the record hadn't come out yet, Weather
Hmm.
Vanes, and Jason was like, let's run King Oklahoma at soundcheck. So I think I had like my 12 string out or something. We got to the end, and I think Jason was like, honestly, man, I think, this just needs to be like Neil Young, the Crazy Horse style. Like, I'll do some solo, then this needs to be big and rocking. So that's kind of how we figured that out. And then as with most things that we do, it kind of just starts to take on a life of its own. Okay. Yeah. So with most things, like, we don't really plan too much. Things will just kind of take on a life of its own. We'll have, hey, you do this here, and then everything else is really up for interpretation.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I just love it. And that's what I think it's so I've seen the band, I think 6 or 7 times. And I've been a fan since relatively recently, like since 2021. So I've been trying
Oh,
to
cool.
catch those shows. Yeah, luckily you play a lot of like, Memphis and I saw y'all once when I was in school in Florida and Orlando, and I go to the
Oh, cool.
Ryman. And I'm gonna go see Jason at the Pinnacle, and I hope to be at the Birmingham show in June. So I try to catch
Very
y'all
cool.
out. Yeah, but you can like just tell like y'all really love what you're doing. You're all passionate. You all like each other, and those songs, like what I love so much about the band is it doesn't sound exactly like the record. They have a life of its own,
Yeah.
and so when you go, even like hearing the same songs over and over again, it's just still fun. Like it just never gets old. Even hearing something like 24 Frames, which is played at every show, I still get excited just as much as
Yeah.
I did when I heard it the first time because it's just so nice. Just that energy too, and being in the Ryman, it's like it's my favorite thing to do. Like those shows are my favorite shows ever. I'm like the happiest when I'm at a 400 unit concert.
Oh,
It's awesome.
thank you so much. And thanks for coming to see us so many times. Like, that's
Uh,
awesome. We
yeah,
appreciate that.
yeah. I try every time. I really make an effort. And I've got my friends into it now too, and so I brought them over. I brought one of my friends over to the Ryman. We saw y'all do Southeastern, and she loved it so much. We went this past year. We brought another friend. She loved it, and so now we're all as a group going to all the shows.
Great. Excellent.
Yeah, so
That's awesome.
I try to share the love, and yeah, it's so great getting to hear a little bit more about you and hearing about all your different projects. And one thing before we go, I like to ask all my guests, what music have you been listening to? Do you have any recommendations? Anything that's been on your rotation lately?
Pink Pony Club by Chapel Roan is all
Yes.
I've been listening to.
Uh,
um, I can't ever. I mean, I'm all over the place. I'm all over the
yeah, me
place. I mean,
too.
there's an old Paul McCartney record, surprise, um, called "Flowers in the Dirt" that I just find such an interesting record. It was made in the '80s, so it
Uh,
sounds like it was made in the '80s, but some of the songs are so interesting on it. And yeah, I just kind of like to look at some of the like real well-known artists I grew up listening to and finding those records that I've never even heard of that they put out. And they're
yeah.
mainly like in the 80s or 90s or something. And
Uh-huh.
it's like, Lindsey Buckingham has a couple of those records
Yeah.
from Fleetwood Mac. And you just go and listen to them. You're like, wow, um, I never even knew about this record. So
Mhm.
I like finding those like hidden gems.
Yeah, and I feel like I have to bring this up. And if you know Sadler, one thing that you're very heavily associated with is your love for Oasis. Are you gonna go see them this summer? I know y'all are touring. Did the
Yeah. I'm,
stars align or?
uh, I'm working on it. There's one show that I might be able to go to, and I'll have a ticket. I was promised a ticket, so
Good.
I will be able to go. If I can get there, I'll be able to get in. so
I
so
mean,
I'm trying. I'd love to see them.
what was your reaction when you heard that they were coming back? Because I mean, that's something that you've talked about. I mean, if anybody follows you on
Yeah,
social media, they know like you're a huge Oasis guy. How did you feel about that?
I was just so happy to see it, and then also it was also met with like sort of this seeing all these people, all the suddenly become huge Oasis fans. You know, was that made me a little sour. I was like,
You
wow,
weren't in the
you know,
trenches. You weren't
yeah,
waiting for
you guys were
years.
not, yeah, yeah. But no, I was just happy to see it. I mean, are they going to be these explosive, like earth shattering, like life changing shows? Those guys are in their 50s now. Um, I don't know. I don't know. But will it be a fun experience? And will it be like a gigantic drunken sing along? Yes.
Yes.
Oh, and will it be loud? Yes, it will be very loud.
Yes,
Um,
exactly.
yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I just think that that music, specifically rock and roll, the playfulness that those guys have, the
Hmm.
confidence that they have to kind of speak their minds, and um, they're not afraid to just say what they're thinking.
Hmm.
And I love that. I love that about rock and roll music. And I think they just have some great songs. And I saw them one time, and it was an awesome show. And I just thought for so long we just need, like, even though
Hmm.
they're not a new rock band, but we just
Yeah.
feel like we just kind of need that energy right now.
Yeah. And I've noticed a lot of people like my age, like kids in their 20s and even younger, they're discovering it now. And I think it is so cool
Yeah.
to have that like evergreen music where,
Yes.
it still stands the test of time. The fact that younger kids are getting into it is just awesome, even though they weren't in the trenches waiting, trying to pray for a reunion, thinking that it was impossible.
It just became one big troll on my end after a while, because it was very polarizing. Either people loved that I was saying it, or they hated that I was trying to get the band back together. So
Yeah, I appreciated your passion. I remember a while back when he was still on Twitter. I don't know what the context of it was, but I think Jason had made some kind of tweet about you or Oasis, and I asked him, because I think you were not on Twitter at the time, and I asked him what your favorite Oasis song was, and he had a funny answer. It was like, "We are getting back together and we're moving to Myrtle Beach." Every time I think about that, it makes me laugh. That was,
that's
years
funny.
ago before this was even a thing. Yeah, because it was, I mean, it was almost like a troll, like you said. It was your thing
Yeah,
to
yeah.
to bring up the Oasis, but it happened. So
Every interview I do, somebody brings that up. So I did my job. You know what I mean? It
yeah, yeah,
worked. You know?
yeah. You have your brand.
Yeah, yeah.
That's kind of like me with the 400 unit. Everybody that knows me knows that that's my favorite band and knows that like you can't get a conversation in with me without talking about it.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time. I know it's a Monday, but I really appreciate you being on the show. It just means the world to me. And it was just so great to talk to you. And then on a personal note, I found y'all's music when I was in my junior year of undergrad. I was in a small school in Florida, and it was my first time kind of being away from my family because they had moved to Mississippi, where I am now. They'd gotten a house that had been in our family for a while. So I was, it was right after COVID. I was dealing with like a lot of isolation, and I just kind of had a hard time connecting. And then I miraculously found y'all's music, and it just like really was just a friend for me when I really needed it. And those shows are just my favorite. And just everybody that I've met in the 400 unit circle in Jason's camp have just been so nice. And it's just been lovely to be able to connect. And I also have high functioning autism, and I have like a hard time like kind of processing lyrics and things. And so
Hmm.
with your music and with Jason's music, it's one of the few things that I've like really understood and connected with on a deep level. And so to be able to talk to you just means the world.
Thank you so. That makes me so happy. I mean, that's
Hmm.
what music. That's one great thing about music.
Hmm.
And more people should know that it can help. That it's
Yeah.
not just, well, entertainment's not the only thing it is. So
Hmm.
that makes me feel so great. I'm so happy for you that it's been helpful in that
Thank
way.
you.